again, it just tells the story of it's the evil and the ugliness of people's hearts these days is everywhere.
This is Franky Rose's Think Tank. Here's your host, Franky Rose.
Well, welcome back to the Think Tank, guys. So there has been an update from the Pasco Sheriff's Office talking about human remains that were found. So I want to share this with you. Okay, here we are.
Everybody good? Roll. All right. Good afternoon. So I want to start with prayers and praying for the family. And I know a lot of times people say, "Oh, you always think about praying." Well, if there wasn't evil in this world, we wouldn't have to pray as much. And when I talk about this story today, you're going to hear about evil. You're going to hear a complex investigation, and you're going to hear about an investigation that's still ongoing. So unfortunately, there's a lot of things we won't be able to answer. But I can tell you, it is a difficult case. And this will be an ongoing case, and there's a lot of things that we still have to run down and a lot of things that we still have to solve. So, I'll talk about Philip Zilliot, 25 years of age, Rain Mancini, 26 years of age, and their two children, Philip Zilliot, the third, who's 5 years old, and Karma Zilliot, who's 6 years old. And for them and their families, we ask for tons of prayers because this is an extremely difficult time for all of them. The preliminary investigation, as I said, it's a complex. And this is still a missing persons case until the final resolution, until the ME comes back. It's still a missing persons case, but we were able to find human remains at the crime scene. And we believe it may be this family, but at the same time, as I can't give it definitive until everything is, the ME gives us that final confirmation that it is. I want to thank the members of the Sheriff's Office. With me, the numerous members, but I want to point out, which we'll be able to speak, is Sergeant Rosa for Major Crimes, Deanna Higgins, sorry, apologize, Deanna. She's the lead instructor for human remain dogs, and Indy was out there with her, and so they were critical into this investigation. And Austin Polonitsa, he does the anthropology and forensics piece for us, and they get called out, those two get called out a lot to go to different organizations, and this is a case that we need them right here in our own neighborhood to help solve this case. We're working with the state attorney's office right now. Because of that partnership with the state attorney's office, we're able to charge Rory Atwood with first-degree homicide on John Doe. And it's on John Doe because we do not know exactly the human remains that we found. But because of the statements he made, because of the information we've gathered, he's being charged with first-degree homicide. I want to thank the information that has come in. And I'm going to get into it. It's pretty complex how this information came in. And the great job of our detectives and our deputies, Deputy Callahan, their team out there were nonstop with whatever nuggets we got. They kept going with it. The other part too is, we still need the public's assistance. Call us. Don't call a friend who calls a friend who calls a friend. And that's what I'm going to talk about. That's what hinders the investigation. What helps us is if you call us directly to get that information. So this started on Wednesday evening at approximately 11:30 p.m. Rain Mancini, her friend picked her up at Rain's house, at Rain's mother's house, drove her to Rory's house, which is on Nottingham Trail in Hudson. This was the last time that Rain saw her mother and the mother saw her, which was unusual, as we'll find out later on in the investigation. Rain's friend, Rain, Philip, and Rory were all at the house together with Rain and Philip's two children, who I mentioned, and Rory's daughter, who is a juvenile as well, were all at the house while the adults were drinking. Philip and her son, Philip Zilliot, and this is around midnight on Thursday, and her son, Philip's mother, and her son, Philip, spoke on the phone. And that was the last time they spoke on the phone. Per Rain's friend, Rain, Philip, and Rory were all drinking alcohol, and they started arguing. Before leaving, Rain's friend hears someone say, "This is the last time this happened. You pulled a gun on us," referring to Rory. We do not have any police reports about that. A friend of Rory, this is around 2 o'clock in the morning, got a call from Rory, who was really upset and said he shot somebody and was frantic. That friend, then calls another friend who calls another friend and we think possibly a fourth friend. None of the information came to us for another 12 hours. The sheriff's office didn't get any of that information, and it would have been very helpful for the investigation had we received it. Rory, this is about 3 a.m. in the morning. Rory Atwood then calls his baby's mother and says, hey, I want to drop off our daughter. And that doesn't happen until about 5:45 in the morning. He drops her off. This is about Thursday at approximately 2 in the afternoon. This is the first time that we, the Pasco Sheriff's Office, get information. We received third and possibly fourth party information that the suspect may have killed somebody. That's what I go back to. It was a person after a person after a person. This is when we begin our investigation efforts, trying to track back the real source of the information. We went around the property. The suspect gave us permission to walk around. Unfortunately, we did not find anything that was suspicious at the time. On Friday, we were able to make contact with Rain and Phyllis' family. So it wasn't until yesterday afternoon that we were able to make contact with the family, and they said they had not heard from them. It was unusual in the fact that they hadn't heard from them, and wasn't unusual in the fact that this family is a little transient, and they go from place to place. So around 4:30 in the afternoon, our deputies observed Rory Atwood. We see him out there. He gives us permission to go back onto the property, which we start doing a more extensive search. We had the human remain dogs, bloodhounds, aviation, deputies. Because of the search, we were able to find human remains. This, along with several admissions, is what led to Rory Atwood being charged with first-degree homicide. As I go back to it, it's an ongoing investigation. Apologize. Our job is to work with the medical examiner right now to help identify the remains. The missing person case will remain open until everyone is identified. We are still tracking down leads, and we will provide updates when they're significant at the time. I go back to this one thing. We need the public's assistance. We do not know who those human remains are at this time. It's an active investigation. We're going to figure it out. But at the same time is talking to our detectives, the missing person case is not over. That missing person case will not be over until we know where those 4 individuals are. And I go back to it, those 2 poor little children. It's heartbreaking. We believe that they may be on the property deceased, but we do not know that definitively. And we will do everything we can to track them down. We pray to God they're alive somewhere, but at the same time is for that family, we need to find closure and we need to find justice. So with that being said, anything I can answer?
So there's we found one body?
So as of right now, I can tell you we found human remains. We can't identify how many bodies were found out there right now. We're still trying to work with the ME and get some forensics to figure out. Yeah.
What state were they in when you found them?
It's part of the investigation. I can't go into it, but I can just tell you there were human remains.
I see.
Yeah.
And then could you explain, sorry, there's a lot of names and I know some of them have the same name. So could you explain who reported them missing and when?
So the first call came in that he may have shot somebody. That was Thursday. Friday wasn't really until we got hold of the family. It was Friday when we were able to talk to the family and they said, hey, look, we don't know, like we haven't heard from them. At that point, we were just going, okay, we were ramping it up since Thursday, late afternoon, but really when the family said we haven't heard from them, then we said, okay, these pieces aren't falling together. The hard part was as confusing it is for us, our detectives, and I go back to Deputy Callahan, his name keeps coming up for us because he was the one that was like, I'm going to keep figuring out, I'm going to keep finding out who did this.
So it sounds like it was unusual that you learned about the suspect before you actually learned about the people who were missing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. That was the whole thing, was that we found out that the suspect stated to his friends, I may have shot somebody, or I did, and then we're trying to backtrack as to who may have been.
Can you talk about any idea about what happened here, if you know why this happened, or?
There's supposedly an argument. They had lived together for a little bit. There was an argument before, as you've heard, that somebody said that she had heard. Rory said, they pulled a gun on me last time. So it has to do with them living situation. We don't know exactly what it was, but that's why we're still interviewing, investigating, and trying to find this all together.
And then could you say who owned the property where they were found?
I don't know exactly who owns it, but I believe Rory was the one who was living in primary residency, but I don't know exactly who actually owns it.
Do you think there's more people out there who know more about what happened?
I believe there's definitely people who have information, because it sounded like people were calling people. It sounded like a train of like, but nobody called law enforcement. So that's the frustration on our side, is that we're asking anybody who got a phone call or knows something, please let us know.
Can you tell us anything more about this family and more about their background at all?
All I know is that unfortunately their living situations were never the best. They were transient, going from one place to another. And so they had stayed at Rory's for a while. And so something happened, argument came out of this one too. All right.
Are deputies, are you still searching for possibly more victims? I mean, you say, you found human remains, but you don't know if you found everybody who's.
No, absolutely. We're working with FDLE, and we're sending a lot of equipment out there to go search.
So this is still an active.
Oh, this is going to be off for a while. So, all right.
I just want, can you talk about the search and kind of what's next? Go ahead.
Rosie, you want to get into that?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Rosa, ROSA. I'm a sergeant at the Pasco Sheriff's Office Homicide Unit. Our search is going to continue with the property. We have a lot more investigative things to do, looking at the property, looking at the home itself, and it's approximately 10 acres there. So a lot of ground to cover. We have a lot of resources that we're going to use, a lot of agencies that are going to assist us as well, including the medical examiner's office. And we have a lot of investigations still due to identify who's there, how many people are there, that kind of type of things. And we believe that our suspect, Rory Atwood, may have spoken to more people about this incident. So if there's anybody out there that he spoke to, please contact the sheriff's office.
Will you guys be doing a lot of digging around the property? What kind of tools are you using?
So I'm not going to get into the details of that, sir. But however, we have a lot of equipment, a lot of highly trained personnel to search this property.
We appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
How scary is that, guys? How scary is that? Let's put some faces to this. Let's take a look and see what we have. So let's see here. We have man arrested as Florida deputies find human remains while searching for missing family. Rory Atwood, 25, accused of first degree. Wow. Not long after the family of 4 was reported missing in Pasco County, the sheriff's office says it found human remains at the property where they were last seen. Rory Atwood, 25, was arrested on Friday and is accused of first degree according to Sheriff Chris Nocco. The sheriff detailed the case at a news conference on Saturday, stressing that while investigators believe the human remains may be those of the missing family, the identity or identities of the deceased are pending word from the medical examiner's office. We're working with the state's attorney's office right now. Because of that partnership with the state attorney's office, we're able to charge Rory Atwood with first degree on John Doe. And it's John Doe because we do not know exactly the human remains that we found. Don't know if it's a John Doe or Jane Doe, so they gave it John Doe. But because of the statements he made, because of information we've gathered, he is being charged with the first degree The sheriff's office around noon Friday said on social media that it was searching for the missing family, identifying them as Rain Mancini, 26, Philip Zilliott, 11, 25, and their 2 children, 6-year-old Karma Zilliott, I believe, and 5-year-old Philip Zilliott III. The 4 were said to be endangered and were reportedly last seen Wednesday night in the Nottingham Trail in Houston, area of Houston. Are you kidding me? So the sheriff had said that around 1 11:30 p.m. Wednesday, a friend picked up Mancini at her mother's house and drove her to Atwood's in the aforementioned Nottingham Trail area, adding this was the last time Mancini's mother saw her. Nocco then relayed that the friend was able to tell investigators that as the family of four, that the family of four was with Atwood in the home as they all drank. An argument took place. Rain's friend, Rain, Philip, and Rory were all in the house together with Rain and Philip's two children, who I mentioned, and Rory's daughter, who is a juvenile as well. They were all in the house while the adults were drinking, Nocco said. Per Rain's friend, Rain, Philip, and Rory were all drinking alcohol and they started arguing. Before leaving, Rain's friend hears someone say, "The last time this happened, you pulled a weapon on us," referring to Rory. We did not have any police reports about that. Around 2 a.m. the following day, Atwood called one of his friends to tell him that he had hot somebody, according to the sheriff. Nocco described Atwood's behavior on the call as frantic and really upset, yet despite Atwood's alleged statements, the information wouldn't reach the sheriff's office for another 12 hours. That friend, then calls another friend, who calls another friend, and we think possibly a fourth friend, Nocco said. About 3 a.m. in the morning, Rory Atwood then calls his baby's mother and says, "Hey, I want to drop off our daughter." And that doesn't happen. So about 5:45 in the morning, he drops her off. The sheriff's office received information from a third party, possibly a fourth party, around 2 p.m. Thursday, launching its investigation and soon visiting Atwood's property. Atwood gave permission for the sheriff's office to walk around, what would result in no discoveries until a second search warrant was performed Friday with help from a cadaver, more than one canines. Around 4:30 in the afternoon on Friday, our deputies observed Rory Atwood. We see him out there. He gives us permission to go back onto the property, which we start doing, and more. At that time, a more extensive search. We have human remain dogs, bloodhounds, aviation, deputies. Because of the search, we're able to find human remains. This, along with several admissions, is what led to Rory Atwood being charged with first-degree M. A Saturday's news conference, Nocco clarified the missing persons case is still active at this time. It's an ongoing investigation. Our job is to work with the medical examiner right now and help identify the remains. The missing persons case will remain open until everyone is identified. We are still tracking down leads, and we will provide updates when they're significant to time, Nocco said. The missing persons case is not over. So, and I go back to those two poor children. It's heartbreaking. We believe they may be on the property deceased, but we do not know that definitely, and we will do everything we can to track them down. Pray they're alive somewhere. Okay, so they have urged anybody with information to call the emergency line, which is 727-847-8102, option 7, or to report tips online at pascosheriffs.com /tips. I'm going to grab this. I'll put that in my description. Horrible, horrible, horrible case. So, guys, I am going to continue to watch this, see if we get any more news. Let's hope that those kids are found safe. It's just what is going on with our world right now. Oh, okay. So, guys, with that said, thank you very much again for being here with me. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I'll see you guys soon in the next one. Bye.
Dun 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 dun.